Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I'd now like to turn the call over to your presenter for today, Ryan Ricciardi.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning to those of you on the West Coast. My name is Ryan Ricciardi, and I work in the American Community Survey Office at the U.S. Census Bureau. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be posted after the webinar. In addition, the PDF versions of the slides are available on the ACS events page at the link shown on the slide. Please submit your questions through the question and answer feature of WebEx. I want to thank you for attending today's webinar covering the Introduction to the American Community Survey, or ACS. Hopefully, at the conclusion of this webinar, you will have an in-depth understanding of the ACS, including how the data are collected, the topics covered, the available geographies, and how to access ACS data. And with that, let's get started. Before I delve into our data, let's start with a quick overview about the U.S. Census Bureau as a whole. And yes, we do more than just count people. The Census Bureau is the largest of 13 primary federal government statistical agencies. While most people are familiar with the decennial census that happens every 10 years, we also conduct more than 130 censuses and surveys of households and businesses across the nation each year. This includes the American Community Survey and more than 30 other household surveys. There are also over 60 economic programs. Of these, the economic census is the biggest and most comprehensive. There is also information on our nation's public sector provided through the Census of Governments. The Census Bureau's mission is to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about its people and economy, and our goal is to provide the best mix of timeliness, relevancy, quality, and cost for the data we collect and the services we provide. Let's now go over today's agenda. In the first part of today's webinar, I will be going over the basics of the American Community Survey, including the history of the survey, how the data are collected, the topics included, and the geographies covered. Next, I will discuss some of the tools available to help you access ACS data, followed by a demonstration of how to find data using a few of these tools. And I'll conclude this webinar by covering some resources available on our website for learning more about the survey. The ACS is on the leading edge of survey design, continuous improvement, and data quality. It is the nation's most current, reliable, and accessible data source for local statistics on critical planning topics. The survey samples approximately 3.5 million addresses each year. These data are collected continuously throughout the year to produce annual social, economic, housing, and demographic estimates. The data collected through ACS is used to distribute more than $675 billion of federal government spending each year. Our estimates, covering more than 40 topics, support more than 300 known federal uses and countless non-federal uses. Examples of some programs that use Census Bureau data to determine funding include the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, and in the Department of Health and Human Services for the Head Start program. The Census Bureau typically releases 3 different sets of data estimates from the ACS each year in the form of 1-year and 5-year period data sets, as well as 1-year supplemental estimates. I will discuss these data products in more detail on an upcoming slide. In order to understand what the ACS is and why it exists, we need to discuss a bit of census history. The first census of the United States was conducted in 1790 and occurred every 10 years, with one form being used to collect data from all households until 1930. From 1940 to 2000, the decennial census, which is the name for the census conducted every 10 years, contained a short form used to collect data from all households and a long form that was used to collect data from a sample of households. The long form approach worked well initially, but the data became less and less current as the decade progressed after each decennial census. So in the early 1990s, demand from a wide variety of users for current, nationally consistent data led federal government policymakers to consider the feasibility of collecting social, economic, and housing data continuously throughout the decade. And in 2000, a large-scale demonstration of the American Community Survey was conducted. The ACS was then fully implemented in 2005 and began collecting data for all of America's communities each year. There is also the Puerto Rico Community Survey, or PRCS, which is the equivalent of the ACS in Puerto Rico. In 2010 and moving forward, the decennial census is only a short form sent to all households because the ACS now collects information each year that was once collected by the long form each decade. The American Community Survey is part of the decennial census program. Therefore, it is important to point out how the ACS differs from the census itself. ACS estimates are based on a sample of the population, whereas the census is based on the official count of the population. Every year, over 3.5 million housing unit addresses are contacted to participate in the ACS. Information obtained from the sample of 3.5 million housing units is then used to estimate characteristics about the total population in a timely and cost-effective manner. However, these estimates differ from those obtained in a census where every household in the nation is contacted. This results in an element of uncertainty in the ACS data. As such, ACS estimates include a margin of error, or MOE. The MOE gives us more information about the population by telling us how much the estimate may vary from the true population value. So what does the ACS collect? The ACS collects information that previously appeared on the census long form, collecting detailed social, economic, housing, and demographic characteristics, whereas the census collects basic demographics via the short form, like age, sex, race, Hispanic origin, household relationship, and housing tenure. What is produced? The ACS produces population and housing characteristics, whereas the census produces population and housing totals. When is the new data available? The ACS occurs annually, reflecting a period of time over which the data are collected, averaging data for 12 months or 60 months, whereas the census occurs every 10 years and reflects a point in time, and Census Day is April 1st. You may be wondering, what method does the Census Bureau use to collect ACS data? So in a typical year, the American Community Survey data collection operation uses 3 modes that take place over a 3-month period: internet, mail, and personal visit. Typically, for most housing units, the first phase of data collection includes an invitation for the household to respond via internet, which is mailed to the sample address. Internet data collection started in 2013. If the household does not respond via internet, a paper questionnaire is sent to the sample address for the household to complete and return by mail. If the Census Bureau is unable to reach an occupant of the sample address, or if the unit had an unmailable address, the address may be selected for computer-assisted personal interviewing, known as CAPI. If the census receives an internet response or a completed paper questionnaire from the sampled address at any point of the process, we will remove the address from the data collection workload. Also, respondents are always able to call the Telephone Questionnaire Assistance, or TQA line, at any point during the 3-month data collection cycle if they have questions about the survey or if they prefer to complete the survey over the phone. The content collected by the American Community Survey can be grouped into 4 main types of characteristics: social, demographic, economic, and housing. So taking a closer look at the type of information each of these categories contain, on the left here you have social characteristics, which include topics such as disability status, education, and language spoken at home. The American Community Survey also collects basic demographic characteristics such as sex, age, race, and Hispanic origin. Economic characteristics include such topics as commuting to work, employment status, and income. And housing characteristics include topics such as computer and internet use, housing costs, and vehicles available. Along with the numerous topics covered, the ACS also provides data for more geographies on an annual basis than any other household survey. Over 13,000 geographies are available for 1-year estimates, 15,000 geographies for 1-year supplemental estimates, and 776,000 geographies for 5-year estimates. The image on this slide shows some of the geographies for which ACS data are produced and the relationship between them. Lower geographic areas fit neatly within the larger areas directly connected with lines. For example, school, congressional, and state legislative districts fit neatly within states and do not cross state boundaries. However, they may cross boundaries of counties or metropolitan areas. In this visualization, you can also see that the smallest geographic building block is the block group. The ACS's unique ability to report on a wide range of geographies is what gives it such a broad appeal. So, covering a wide range of geographic areas, ACS data are most commonly needed at the state, county, place, census tract, and block group geographic levels. This slide illustrates the relationship between these common geographic types and how they are nested within one another, as this example shows in El Paso, Texas. Census tracts are small statistical subdivisions within a county with populations of between 1,200 and 8,000 people. So think small towns, rural areas, and neighborhoods. Block groups are a group of blocks within a census tract of between 600 and 3,000 people, as you see blown out in the right corner of the screen. Again, the ACS has the ability to report on a wide range of geographies, as well as to provide data at very granular levels like census tracts and block groups. A few slides back, we mentioned the different products that ACS provides: 1-year, 1-year supplemental, and 5-year estimates. These data products are released about 1 year after the data are collected. ACS data are generally released in September, the calendar year after collection, as 1-year estimates, in October, the calendar year after collection, as 1-year supplemental estimates, and 5-year estimates are generally released in December, the calendar year after collection. For example, the 1-year ACS data collected from January 1st through December 31st of 2021 will be released in September of 2022. You can see the 2021 ACS data release schedule on this slide, and it is available at the link you see on the screen. ACS 1-year estimates, which combine data collected over 12 months, are available for geographic areas with a population of 65,000 or more. ACS 1-year supplemental estimates are a subset of detailed tables that are available for geographic areas with populations of 20,000 or more. 1-year supplemental estimates are simplified versions of popular ACS tables and provide the most current data to almost twice as many geographies compared to the standard 1-year release. And ACS 5-year estimates combine data collected over 60 months and are available for geographic areas of all sizes down to those granular census tract and block group levels. Again, the full detailed data release schedule for each year is available on the link you see on the slide, which you can also navigate to by visiting census.gov/ACS. I just covered some background information and the basic foundation of the ACS. Now let's jump into some of the data products the ACS provides. It's helpful to know more about the types of data products available in the ACS. Broadly speaking, the data products are either profiles or tables. The letters in parentheses next to the profile and table types, as you can see on this slide and the next slide, correspond to the beginning of the table ID. I will explain the table IDs in a few moments. First, let's hone in on data profiles. Profiles offer a broad look at a community's social, economic, housing, and demographic characteristics. They generally include many different variables, and the geography or population group is at the center. ACS includes the following types of profiles: data profiles, which provide broad social, economic, housing, and demographic profiles; comparison profiles that offer comparisons of data profile estimates across ACS years; and selected population profiles. These profiles provide broad social, economic, and housing profiles for a large number of race, ethnic, ancestry, and country or region of birth groups. Other than profiles, tables are the other type of data product available in the ACS. Tables provide a precise or detailed view of a subject, and subject matter is the focus of the table. ACS includes the following types of tables: detailed tables, which provide access to the most detailed ACS data and cross tabulations of ACS variables; supplemental tables are simplified tables that provide ACS statistics at a lower population threshold than the standard one-year data tables; subject tables are similar to data profiles, but include more detailed ACS data classified by subject; ranking tables provide state rankings of estimates across 89 key variables; and geographic comparison tables. They compare geographic areas such as states, counties, or congressional districts for key variables. Ranking tables and geographic comparison tables are only available through the ACS website containing direct links to the FTP site. So now that you understand more about the types of data products we offer, let's talk about how we identify the ACS products. While the characters of the table ID may look random at first, each table ID is purposefully numbered to describe its content and format. For example, B06004APR shows that the table contains place of birth statistics for the white alone population in Puerto Rico. Table IDs consist of up to 5 elements. Element 1 identifies the table type. In this example, the type of table is a base table, which is a type of detailed table. Therefore, the letter B is used. Element 2 identifies the subject. In this case, the subject of the table is place of birth, so 06. Element 3 is the sequential number, a set of 2 or 3 digits that uniquely identifies the table within a given subject, in this case, 004. Element 4 is the race iteration for the table. Each table is repeated for the 9 major race and Hispanic or Latino groups. The A stands for white alone. Element 5 is for tables where the content of the table for Puerto Rico differs from the US table. A comparable US table ID will have the same first 4 elements, but without the 5th element, PR. Visit the URL at the bottom of the slide for a complete explanation of the table numbering system. Now familiar with ACS data products, I want to briefly go over data tools which we use, as well as to provide ACS data. And I will finish this section with a few demonstrations of data tools. So catering to a variety of data users with unique needs, we have a variety of data access tools. This is a list of our top tools. QuickFacts provides selected statistics for all states and counties and for cities and towns with a population of 5,000 or more using the ACS as well as other Census Bureau datasets. My Congressional District gives you quick and easy access to selected statistics collected by the ACS and county business patterns. My Tribal Area gives you quick and easy access to selected ACS statistics for tribal areas. My Community Explorer is an interactive map-based tool that highlights demographic and socioeconomic data that measure inequality and can help inform data-based solutions. On the Map for Emergency Management provides data for disasters, natural hazards, and weather events using the ACS as well as other Census Bureau datasets. Census Business Builder provides selected demographic data from the ACS and economic data from the Census Bureau to help users start or grow a business or understand the business landscape for a region. Data.census.gov is the Census Bureau's main data dissemination platform to access Census Bureau statistics. Census COVID-19 Data Hub provides demographic and economic resources to assist communities concerning the current pandemic. Tigerline shapefiles with selected demographic data or topographically integrated geographic encoding and referencing shapefiles are available pre-joined with ACS data, ACS 5-year estimate data containing selected demographic and economic data in geodatabase format. The Application Programming Interface, or API, lets developers create custom apps to reach new users and makes key demographic, socioeconomic, and housing statistics more accessible than ever before. All data tools are available from census.gov. Choose the Explore Data tab from the blue ribbon at the top of the screen. Then click on the Data Tools and Apps tab to view a comprehensive list of census tools and apps. I want to now take a few moments and demonstrate two ACS data tools. I am going to demonstrate how to access data from data.census.gov and QuickFacts. If you want to be able to view margins of error or conduct statistical testing, you would turn to data.census.gov. You would also use data.census.gov if you wanted more than basic statistics or cross-tabulated data for a large number of geographies. For example, if I wanted to know the percentage of children under 5 who are enrolled in school in all the cities in my state, I would use data.census.gov. Now, some data users may be interested in basic statistics like the population for their city. For that, they can turn to QuickFacts. QuickFacts helps to easily find basic population, business, or geography statistics for a particular city, state, or county with a population of 5,000 or more. For example, if I wanted to know the percentage of children under 5 in my city and was not concerned with having margins of error, I would start with QuickFacts. So with that, let's get into our demonstration. So to begin, I am going to go to the moment, please. There we are. So as you can see on the screen here, this is data.census.gov, this main data dissemination platform for the US Census Bureau. And let's say I was interested in learning, I wanted to know the poverty status of families for all counties in New Jersey. So to do that, I would begin by I'm going to begin by going advanced search. And this brings up a new page. And again, I'm looking for poverty status of families for all counties in New Jersey. So I'll begin by going to geography. And then under most commonly used geographies, we'll go ahead and click county. And then I'll scroll down, find my state. In this case, it's New Jersey. So I will click New Jersey. And then at the very top here, you can select any number of counties, but I'm going to select all counties in New Jersey. And once you have that, you can see that it is under the filters tab, our geography. And so the next thing we want to do is go to topics because we are interested in poverty. So I'm going to click topics, and then from there I will click income and poverty, and then I will click poverty. And then I'm going to click official poverty measure. And then as you can see, like before, it has been added to the left under my filters. So you can see now that I have two filters selected, all counties within New Jersey as a geography, and then official poverty measure as a topic. And with those selected, I'm going to go ahead and click search in the bottom right corner of the screen here. And once I do that, it'll populate a list of relevant tables. In my case, I am going to go ahead and open up table S1702, poverty status in the past 12 months of families. And when I open it up here, you can see that the table is adjusted for all of the counties in New Jersey, beginning with Atlantic County. And you can scroll on the bottom. This little scroll bar allows you to scroll, and moving forward, you see there's Bergen County, Burlington County, and so on and so forth. You can, if you want to make it bigger, you can collapse these filters. It'll just kind of hides them a little bit, and that makes the table bigger. And that way you can scroll down and find what you're looking for. And so you can look through the table and see all the data that is available for poverty status. Within here, it's saying 50% of the poverty level, 125%, and so on and so forth. And if you would like to download this table, you have options as well. You can click either the Excel, CSV, or zip icons here. So that is data.census.gov. So now let's use another data access tool. The next one I said I'm going to use is QuickFacts. And you can go to QuickFacts by entering census.gov/QuickFacts, but I already have it pulled up here. So this is QuickFacts. Now, let's say in this case, I want to find data on the percentage of people with health insurance in the city of Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm going to begin by entering my geography here in the search option, and I'm going to go ahead and type Atlanta, and then you see it fills the type ahead says Atlanta City, Georgia. So I'll go ahead and click that. And now you can see the table has been updated. There are now two columns. The first one is for Atlanta, Georgia, and the other one is for the entire United States. Now I could delete the one for the entire United States if I wanted to, but I will just leave it here for the time being. So remember, I'm looking for health insurance status for people living in the city of Atlanta. So if you scroll down, you can go down to, there's a health section, and you can see right here, it says persons without health insurance under 65 years percent, and it says 11.9%. And so looking at QuickFacts, it tells me that the city of Atlanta has a higher number of people without health insurance under the age of 65 than the entire United States as a whole. And you can similarly look at other data that might be interesting to you, such as education, computer and internet use, housing, and other simple categories. Again, quick facts is useful as quick and easy, commonly used statistics where you're not necessarily interested in margins of error. So that is quick facts, and with that, I will go ahead and jump back to the presentation. Right. Okay, so now let's talk about the variety of resources the Census Bureau provides for learning more about ACS data, tools, and about the survey at large. So first we have the ACS main page, which is a great tool to start with if you have questions about ACS. This page can be found by going to census.gov, selecting surveys/programs, and then selecting ACS. Or simply go to census.gov/ACS. The ACS website contains a wealth of information about the survey, data products, tools for data users, and other helpful information. You may also be curious as to why we ask questions about a specific topic on the ACS. Each question has a required purpose and many uses to help communities. So explore the set of interactive Why We Ask web pages to discover the importance of each question. These pages can be accessed by selecting the Why Do You Ask Each Question feature. For each topic, you can browse some of the most popular results from that question and view the question as it appears on the form. We also provide information on the origin of the question, how we protect your privacy, and how ACS statistics help communities. So links to our data, tables, and tools pages, can be found through the ACS data page. These web pages will introduce you to the most popular tools and data products with descriptions and links for each. The ACS data tables page, shown in the top right, explains each type of ACS table through a series of drop-down tabs. For example, you can click the Data Profiles tab to learn what topics they cover, which geographic areas are available for data profiles, and common ways to access data profiles. Similarly, the Data Tools page, shown in the bottom right, explains each of the tools available for you to access ACS data in another series of drop-down tabs. For example, you could click on the Quick Facts tab to learn the topics included, the years available, and the geographies available for Quick Facts, as well as a link to the data tool. These pages are designed for data users of all skill levels. They succinctly explain the ACS data tables and tools available for data users like you. So the comparison guidance page provides broad information about comparing ACS estimates across years with Census 2000 and with the 2010 census. From the center navigation bar outlined in red, you can find yearly guidance on the comparison of data sets, as well as specific topics and subjects. For example, if you're interested in data about computer and internet use from 2016, you would select the year and then select the topic computer and internet use. From here, you can see that the Census Bureau recommends comparing the 2016 data and 2015 data with caution due to question wording changes. The Comparing ACS data page can be found by visiting the ACS homepage, census.gov/ACS, and then selecting Guidance for Data Users, and then comparing ACS data. So as I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, the ACS provides estimates, and that in itself is a strength of the ACS, estimating characteristic distributions. The Census Bureau recommends that users compare population characteristics such as percents, means, medians, and rates, rather than estimates of population totals. Now, if you are looking for population totals, we recommend using the Decennial Census or the Population Estimates Program, or PEP. In general, the Census Bureau recommends that you do compare estimates from non-overlapping periods. For example, compare a 2010 to 2014 ACS 5-year estimate to a 2015 to 2019 ACS 5-year estimate. Do not compare overlapping periods. For example, do not compare a 2013 to 2018 ACS 5-year estimate to the 2015 to 2019 ACS 5-year estimates because those years overlap. And you do want to compare similar period lengths. For example, compare 1 year to 1 year estimates and 5 year to 5 year estimates. And do not compare estimates from different period lengths. For example, do not compare a 1 year to a 5-year estimate. It is important to also keep in mind that all ACS data products are estimates. We collect data from a sample of the population in the United States and Puerto Rico rather than from the whole population. To help you interpret the reliability of the estimates, the Census Bureau publishes a margin of error, or MOE, for every ACS estimate. Unless you take into account the MOEs, you cannot conclude that estimates are statistically different from one another. Instead, you have to conduct statistical testing when making comparisons between estimates to check for any differences. We will talk more about how to do this on an upcoming slide. Looking at estimates alone to decide if they are higher or lower than one another is not sufficient. As I just brought up the margin of error, or MOE, in the previous slide, I now want to discuss MOEs and their importance. MOEs allow data users to be certain that at a given level of confidence, the estimate and the actual population value differ by no more than the value of the MOE. The US Census Bureau uses a 90% confidence level as its standard. All ACS estimates published on data.census.gov have margins of error calculated at the 90% confidence level. It is also important to note that MOEs provided by the Census Bureau are always in the same units as their respective estimates. For instance, a percent estimate will have a percent MOE, and a median income estimate will have an MOE in dollars. So here we have a typical table, detailed table B01001, sex by age, as it is displayed on data.census.gov for the state of Wyoming. As you can see, the table has 3 elements: the characteristics, aka the descriptions, which is total, male, under 5 years, the estimates, and the accompanying margins of error, all outlined in red. Put simply, the margin of error is a measure of the possible variation of an estimate around the population value. In this example, we want to know how many males under age 5 live in Wyoming. We find the lower bound by subtracting the margin of error from the estimate. Similarly, we find the upper bound by adding the estimate and the margin of error. So we are 90% confident that the true number of males under age 5 in Wyoming falls between the lower bound of 17,797 and the upper bound of 18,583. And now we'll move on. Let's discuss statistical testing and its importance. Statistical testing is an important part of data analysis, as it can tell us whether or not difference in estimates is meaningful. In short, a statistical test is a test to determine if a difference is unlikely to have occurred by chance. To be, quote, statistically different, there must be statistical evidence that there is a difference between 2 estimates. Statistical testing should be conducted anytime you make a comparison between 2 estimates. So now that you have this background, you can see why making accurate comparisons matter. For example, if you're going to the city council or county council asserting that a certain population has experienced poverty in higher proportions in recent years than it had in the several years before, you want to make sure you've tested to know that a true difference exists. Or if you're a transportation planner in your county and you want to make the case for projects based on perceived longer commute times, again, before you make that decision based on what you seem to see from the data, it benefits you to statistically test before you commit those public dollars, and so on. The good news is that you can test for statistical significance using math, or more specifically, algebra. And this slide contains the formula for testing for statistical significance. Now, the good news is you don't have to worry about relearning advanced algebra because the Census Bureau has a statistical testing tool for public use. This tool allows you to input estimates you'd like to test and receive a visual notification of whether the estimates are statistically different or not. Using the tool, you can compare both pairs of estimates and groups of estimates against each other. The tool is available for download as an Excel spreadsheet via the link at the bottom of the slide. Moving on, now for users that have accessed the data but need more information to understand the tables and complete their analysis, we offer code lists, subject definitions, group quarter definitions, instructions for applying statistical testing, comparison guidance, and accuracy of the data in our technical documentation section. The technical documentation page shown on this slide can be found at census.gov/ACS and then selecting technical documentation on the left-hand side. And finally, from the terms American Community Survey to zip code tabulation area, the Census Bureau glossary is a great resource to learn more about terms you see on our website. So while browsing census data, if you are unfamiliar with a term and its meaning, follow the link at the bottom of this slide and search for the term. And as I begin to wrap up today's webinar, we invite you to stay in touch by telling us how you use data from the American Community Survey. For example, have you or your organization used the ACS to make an important decision, help your community, or expand your business? If so, please visit the link at the bottom of the slide to share your story and explore how data enthusiasts across the country are using ACS in creative ways. Doing so provides further support for the importance of the data we collect here at the Census Bureau and is a great way to further promote our data. If you want to read some of the posted data stories, check out the bottom link on the screen to discover how the American Psychological Association uses ACS data to identify need for mental health services, education, and training, and also learn how the U.S. Department of Energy uses ACS data to assist stakeholders in building better energy strategies. Also, I want to inform you that there is a group specifically for users of American Community Survey data, known simply as the ACS Data Users Group. The purpose of the ACS Data Users Group is to improve understanding of the value and utility of ACS data, as well as to promote information sharing among data users about key ACS data issues and applications. The ACS Data Users Group includes a users group website and online community with over 3,700 members. The website contains information such as previous conference presentations and archive webinars. This online community is a site where members can share messages, materials, and announcements related to the ACS. And Census Bureau staff are also members and share program updates here. We also host ACS Data Users Conferences, typically every 2 years, in order to provide an opportunity for ACS data users and Census Bureau staff to showcase their work and exchange information about their experiences using ACS data. The most recent conference was held in May 2021. The conferences are open to the public and information is posted in advance on the Data Users Group website. Membership is free and open to all interested ACS data users. To learn more, go to acsdatacommunity.prb.org, listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you're looking for further assistance on how to obtain or understand ACS data, our data dissemination specialists, or DDSs, who are located within your region, can provide you with assistance about Census Bureau data. These specialists usually provide help in English, but sometimes in other languages as well, depending on the needs of their communities. Whether conducting one-on-one webinars with business startups or conducting large-scale presentations at universities, these specialists strive to put the public in touch with the data they need. DDSs provide a wide variety of assistance for free. If you are interested in a specific type of training or presentation, please reach out to a specialist in your area using the contact information on the slide. In closing, I encourage you to connect with us directly. You can visit our website, census.gov/ACS, or connect on the various social media platforms using the hashtag ACSData. We also have an email to help support data users who may have questions, and that is acso.users.support@census.gov. You can also sign up for and manage alerts on the ACS via GovDelivery. Add yourself to GovDelivery if you want the slides from this presentation or any other presentations we provide. GovDelivery will send out a broadcast when materials are available. And one last thing before I conclude today's webinar. If you are using ACS estimates, please be sure to source the Census Bureau American Community Survey as to where you received the data. It helps people know that the information they're using is powered by the American Community Survey. This concludes today's webinar on the introduction to the ACS. I want to thank everyone for attending. Have a great day.
This concludes today's webinar. Thank you for your participation. You may disconnect at this time.